No one's ever noticed how some people walk into a room and instantly command attention without saying a word? It's not their looks, money, or status. It's something invisible, yet incredibly powerful inner confidence. And here's the best part. That kind of confidence is available to you the moment you stop letting others define your worth. Start reminding yourself of this one unshakable truth. You are the only one who truly knows your value. Not your boss, not your friends, not the internet, just you. And once you begin to actually believe in that, something fascinating happens. People start to believe it too. The world mirrors what you project. If you carry yourself with quiet confidence, people instinctively treat you as someone who deserves respect. But if you're constantly doubting yourself, always worried about what others might be thinking, they'll sense that hesitation and reflect it right back. And remember, this confidence doesn't mean you'll never mess up, never get rejected, or never fail. It means you know that even if those things happen, you'll still be okay when you trust yourself to handle anything. You stop fearing everything, and when that happens, nothing and no one can shake you. Most people spend their lives chasing approval, often without even realizing it. They dress a certain way, talk a certain way, act a certain way, all driven by the fear of not being accepted. But here's the trap when you rely on others for validation. You give them control over your emotional well-being. If they compliment you, you feel great. If they criticize you, you shrink. If they ignore you, you begin to question yourself. It's a dangerous game because it puts your peace in someone else's hands. But here's the truth. What others think of you has nothing to do with you, and everything to do with them. People view you through the filter of their own experiences, insecurities, and perceptions. One person may think you're incredible, another might see you as average. One may be inspired by you, another may feel threatened. So, who's right? Neither, because opinions aren't facts. They're simply projections of the person expressing them. And when you understand that their judgment stops carrying so much weight, the need for approval is something we've been conditioned into since childhood. We were taught to chase gold stars, good grades, and applause. But at some point you have to break free from that cycle, because living for approval is a losing battle. No matter how kind or hardworking you are, someone somewhere will still find a reason to criticize. So, why even try to please everyone? Why let your self-worth ride on something so unstable? When you stop chasing validation, everything shifts. You begin to make choices based on your true desires, not based on what will impress others. You stop obsessing over how you come across. You stop walking on eggshells, afraid of upsetting someone. Ironically, that's when people start respecting you even more, when they see that you don't need their approval to feel whole. Because confidence is magnetic when you're secure in who you are. Others can't help but be drawn to you. Of course not. Growth begins with learning. But there's a big difference between being open to constructive feedback and being dependent on external validation. One helps you grow, the other keeps you stuck. The key is knowing how to filter what you allow in. If someone's feedback can help you improve, take it with gratitude. But if it's just noise, meaningless negativity, or criticism rooted in someone else's issues, then let it go completely and unapologetically. And this is where true power begins. When you no longer live for validation, you become immune to manipulation. No one can guilt you, pressure you, or control you. When their opinion no longer defines your self-worth, you stop fearing rejection. You stop feeling the need to prove anything to anyone. And when you reach that place, that's when you're finally free. Because at the end of the day, this life is yours to live. Not your parents', not your friends', not society's, just yours. So the question is, will you live it for yourself, or for the approval of people who might forget about you tomorrow? Once you answer that honestly, nothing, and no one will ever bother you again. It all comes down to perspective. How you see a situation will shape how you feel about it. Two people can go through the exact same experience, yet walk away with totally different emotions. One frustrated, the other calm. Why? because one knows how to shift perspective. The ability to reframe how you see things is one of the most powerful tools you can develop. It can turn stress into a challenge, frustration into growth, and even offense into something irrelevant. Most people don't even realize they have that power. They believe emotions just happen if someone's rude. They think they have to get angry. If something goes wrong, they assume they must be upset, but that's not true. It's not the event that causes the emotion. It's your interpretation of the event. And that means you have the power to change how you feel, simply by changing how you view it. Take criticism, for example. Someone says something harsh or negative about you. Your instinct might be to take it personally, to defend yourself, to push back. But what if you paused and looked at it differently? What if, instead of viewing it as an attack, you saw it as information? It's either helpful feedback you can use, or irrelevant commentary that says more about them than it does about you. Either way, there's no reason to be upset when criticism is either useful or meaningless. It loses its ability to wound you. The same principle applies when dealing with difficult people, those who are rude, negative, or just downright draining. Instead of letting them control your emotions, what if you saw them as training partners for your patience? What if you turned your reactions into conscious responses, not outbursts, but practice? When you see these moments as opportunities to stay calm and centered, they stop bothering you. They become your classroom. And here's something worth reflecting on. How often do we stress over things that won't even matter? A year from now, a rude comment, a small inconvenience, a moment of embarrassment. We let these tiny moments consume our peace, even though they're completely forgettable in the long run. When you learn to zoom out, to look at the bigger picture, you begin to realize that most of what upsets you is fleeting and insignificant. We often say, "He made me mad," or "She ruined my day," as if other people hold the remote control to our emotions. But the truth is, they don't, unless we give it to them. No one can make you feel angry, frustrated, or hurt without your permission. And once you truly grasp that, you become emotionally untouchable. Have you ever watched two people respond completely differently to the same situation? One shrugs off an insult like it's nothing. The other stews over it for days. The difference isn't in what happened, it's in how they chose to process it. Because the truth is, your emotional response is always a decision when you get angry. It's not because of what someone said, it's because in that moment you decided to let it in. Some people may say, "I can't help it when someone disrespects me, I just explode." But that's not entirely true. That reaction is a habit, and like any habit, it can be changed. Just imagine this. What if every time someone tried to push your buttons, you paused for just 1 second? That 1 second gives you a window of power. It allows you to breathe, to step back, and to ask yourself, is this even worth my energy? Most of the time, the answer is a resounding no. Let's put it into perspective. If someone walks up to you and tries to hand you a gift and you refuse to take it, who does the gift belong to? Still them, right? The same logic applies to negativity. If someone throws anger, criticism, or insults your way, you don't have to accept it. You can leave it right there with them. That's their emotional baggage, not yours. Now, this doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect or let people walk all over you. It means you choose not to let their behavior determine your inner peace. If someone tries to offend you and you don't get offended, who really lost? They did, because their intention was to shake your peace and they failed. Think about the strongest, most grounded people you admire. Are they the ones who blow up at every insult, or the ones who stay calm, steady, and unshaken? True strength isn't found in who shouts the loudest. It's found in the person who remains still, centered, and in control, not ruled by emotions but guided by wisdom. Think about that coworker who thrives on provoking you, but the moment you stop reacting, something shifts. They stop trying. The person who criticizes everything you do, once they see their words no longer shake you, they either change their tone or walk away. Why? Because they only have as much influence over you as you allow them to have. It's just like when a child throws a tantrum. You don't get upset not because the behavior isn't disruptive, but because you recognize the child doesn't know better. You don't take it personally. Now imagine applying that same mindset to adults. What if instead of taking offense, you saw their negativity as a reflection of them, not you? You'd stop wasting precious energy on battles that were never yours to begin with. The truth is, life gets a whole lot easier once you realize that you, not your boss, not your family, not strangers on the internet, are the one in charge of your emotions. And once you master that, you become grounded, unshakable. Confidence works like armor. When you're wearing it, harsh words and judgment can't pierce you, but without it, every comment feels like a dagger. That's why some people are constantly on edge, easily offended, always defensive. It's not because the world is attacking them, it's because they haven't made peace with who they are inside. When you know who you are, when you fully trust yourself, no one's opinion can touch you. Think back to the last time someone's words really got under your skin. Why did it bother you? Was it because what they said was true? Or because deep down part of you feared it might be? That's what most people don't realize. Insults only sting when they poke at a wound that's already there. If you call a lion weak, it won't even blink. Why? Because it knows it's powerful. It doesn't need your approval. But if you say the same thing to someone insecure, they'll lash out not because they're truly weak, but because they haven't yet convinced themselves they're strong. That's why building confidence is essential to becoming emotionally unshakable. When you believe in yourself, you stop seeking validation. You stop needing people to like you. You stop relying on their opinions to define your worth, and the moment you no longer need approval, you become untouchable. Because the truth is, many people try to tear others down just to feel a little taller. But when you remain unaffected, when you stand firm in who you are, their power disappears. Now let's be clear. Confidence is not arrogance. It's not about believing you're better than others. It's about no longer feeling the need to prove yourself to anyone. A truly confident person doesn't have to fight every battle. They don't argue just to be right. They don't feel compelled to defend themselves over every misunderstanding. Why? Because they know who they are, and that alone is enough. Once you reach that level of self-assurance, life becomes much simpler. You stop overanalyzing people's opinions. You stop turning small comments into major emotional events. You stop personalizing everything that happens around you. Think of confidence like a muscle. Every time you stand by your values, every time you choose not to let someone's negativity define you, you strengthen it. And the more you use that muscle, the more powerful it becomes, until one day, nothing and no one can shake you the way they used to. So how do you start building it? First, stop seeking approval. The moment you realize you don't need validation to feel valuable, you reclaim your power. If someone criticizes you, let them. If someone doubts you, let them. Their opinions don't alter your reality. And here's the irony. The less you care about what others think, the more they begin to respect you. Of course, shifting your mindset in the heat of the moment isn't always easy, but it's a skill worth developing. The next time something irritates you, pause for just a moment and ask yourself, is this really worth my energy more often than not? The answer will be no. And when you practice that pause often enough, when you train your mind to zoom out and see the bigger picture, you become unshakable, because in the end, life isn't about controlling what happens around you. It's about mastering how you perceive and respond to it. And once you master that, nothing and no one can throw you off balance again. There's a simple truth. Most people overlook if you don't take something seriously, it can't hurt you. Think about it. The things that bother you most are the ones you give the most weight to. If someone insults you and you internalize it, stings. But if you brush it off with a laugh, if you refuse to give it significance, it loses all its power. Humor and selective indifference are two of the greatest shields you can carry through life. They make you untouchable. People who go through life easily offended, always on edge, constantly searching for something to be upset about, they suffer the most, not because the world is harder on them, but because they allow everything in. They absorb negativity like a Sponge instead of letting it bounce off like rain on a windshield. And the reality is negativity will always exist. There will always be critics, always be rude. People always be someone trying to provoke you. The real question is, are you going to let them, or will you rise above it? When you learn to laugh at what was meant to hurt you, you rob it of its sting. When you stop feeding energy into nonsense, it stops affecting you. If someone tries to drag you down, don't argue, just smile and move on. That doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. It doesn't mean ignoring real problems that need to be addressed. It simply means you stop wasting your energy on things that aren't worthy of it. They're insecure, they're unhappy, they're looking for attention. And when you react, you give them exactly what they're seeking: control. But if you stay calm, if you don't play their game, they lose that power. Nothing frustrates someone more than realizing they can't get to you. If humor is the shield, indifference is the armor. When you reach a point where negativity doesn't even register, when you stop needing to react, defend, prove yourself, or engage in meaningless conflict, that's real strength. Some people think ignoring negativity is weakness. It's not. It's emotional control. It's the wisdom of knowing your peace is more valuable than any short-lived argument. Not everything requires a response. Not every battle is worth fighting some. Things are better left alone, not because you're incapable of responding, but because responding would only waste your time and energy. And your energy is precious. Use it to build your life, not drain it over nonsense. So, next time someone tries to push your buttons, don't give them the satisfaction. Smile, shrug, and keep moving forward. Because the moment you stop letting little things get to you, the moment you learn to laugh and stay indifferent to the noise, that's the moment you become untouchable. Some people think strength is about always winning, always proving a point, always making sure everyone knows they're right. But true strength is the ability to walk away when something isn't worth your peace. It's knowing your energy is too valuable to waste on fruitless debates, toxic conversations, or trying to convince someone who has already decided not to listen. The strongest people aren't the loudest there. Not the ones who fight every battle. They're the ones who know when to stay silent, when to take a step back, and when to simply let things go. One of the greatest traps we fall into is the need to be right. It pulls us into endless arguments, exhausts our minds, and leaves us irritated over things that don't even matter in the long run. How many times have you seen two people argue over something trivial, neither willing to back down, and when it's over, did anyone really win? No. Because even if someone wins the argument, what did they gain? A drained mind? A strained relationship? A wasted hour? That's not a victory, that's ego in disguise. Letting go of the need to win every argument doesn't make you weak. It means you value your peace more than your pride. It means you've learned that not every opinion needs a rebuttal, and not every challenge deserves your attention. Some people argue just to argue. Others are so set in their beliefs that no amount of logic will change them, and some only want one thing to trigger a reaction from you. The best thing you can do, don't give them one when you refuse to engage with negativity. You strip it of its power when you stop responding to nonsense. Nonsense quietly exits your life. It takes real maturity to stay silent when your ego is screaming to speak. It takes wisdom to walk away when your pride wants you to stay and win. But the reward, it's freedom. The kind of freedom that allows you to move through life unbothered, unshaken, and truly at peace, no matter what storms may be happening around you. Not because you're avoiding problems, but because you've learned to recognize what actually deserves your attention and what doesn't. So the next time someone tries to drag you into an argument, pause for a second and ask yourself, if I engage in this, what do I actually gain? Most of the time, the answer will be nothing. No peace, no growth, no progress, just wasted time and drained energy. But when you choose to walk away, when you decide not to play into the chaos, you gain something far more powerful: control over yourself. And once you have that, once you realize you are the one who decides what gets your attention, your energy, and your emotional response, nothing, and no one can shake you.